Hello there, welcome to our second case studies video. Hi, my name is Ari with Haven Horsemanship, and thank you for joining me. Again, in this video we'll be looking at 5 more horses, fitting the one EDIX saddle to these 5 horses. There'll be a little bit less variation in this video than in the first video, but I'm sure you'll still get lots of information out of it because there's some different horses in here, some more that have some issues between right and left, things like that. So enjoy. Again, if you have not already watched the Introduction to Treeless Saddle Fit video, I highly recommend watching that one first. And do watch that first case study video because it shows all of the basic differences between different conformation types that we talk about in the first case studies video and also in the introduction video. So watch those 2 first and enjoy this one. Hi there, so we're going to be showing fitting the EDIX saddle to Uno, and I'll include pictures that show, his back and his overall shape. So first we're going to look at the pommel, and then we'll look and see if there's any shims we want to put in. Have fun. So Uno is a pretty wide horse with a pretty flat back and a pretty flat angle on either side of his withers. So we're going to go ahead and try with just the average size first. Okay. And you can see the slopes on those. I find starting with the average size is helpful because you get an idea of where to go next. So this actually fits pretty well. You can see that maybe the inside corner is just a little bit up, but the rest is sitting pretty flat. So that might be a good fit, but we'll try one size larger just to see. Okay, so now we're going up to the next widest angle, which is this pretty green one. And if you see, this one actually fits the best. There's no gap here. There's no gap here at the back. And we'll go see how it looks on the other side too. So that pommel is now in the saddle, and the saddle just by itself is sitting in position on Uno's back. And we want to look at kind of the balance of the saddle. You'll see the front and the back, the pommel and the cantle, are pretty even. So I'd say it looks pretty good. From Uno's back shape, eventually I might try putting shims right in the middle of where I would sit to see if that better supports his back. But for today we're just going to continue with the saddle and the pad like this. So here it is with the pad and all girthed up. But I want to call your attention to something here. Notice how in order for the saddle to sit where it needs to, his girth kind of ends up on a diagonal going from closer to his hind end at the top and closer to his front legs at the bottom. So I changed my mind. We're going to go ahead and put shims in. So now you can see that line with the billets and the girth. They're still slightly at a diagonal, but much better than before. Part of it is he's standing a little bit uphill. So I'll take more pictures in the arena to show you how it balances out. There's the possibility that going with a slightly narrower pommel will help that. So we'll try the slightly narrow pommel, the average one, another day. This is Friday, and he doesn't have any particular saddle fitting issues, and honestly hasn't been ridden all that much, especially not in a saddle. He's been ridden in bareback pads and just a few times in a saddle. But we're gonna go ahead and fit him so that he's ready to go whenever we decide to graduate from bareback and bareback pads to our saddle. Here's Friday's back, and as you can see, he's quite flat backed as well, though has a little bit more of a wither. He's a little bit more uphill than Sierra, the other flat backed horse, or particularly flat backed horse. So we'll go ahead and fit pommels and then get the saddle on and see if we need to shim anywhere. Okay, as usual, average pommel first. And that actually looks like a good fit. I think he might be our only horse in the average pommel. That's not true. Woody might have been. We'll go ahead and put the large one on him just to see, because there's a little bit of a gap here, but it's actually pretty even. There's a little bit of a gap here, a little bit of a gap here, which is what we want to see. We just want to see that it's even contact all the way around. Okay, well, we'll look at the large, but this is looking like it's going to be our R1. Okay, so just for grins, the large pommel. And no, that is definitely too big. If you look down there and see it's a pretty sizable gap down here. So that is not our one. We're going to start out with the average pommel. Here's the saddle on Friday, and I don't know if you can get much better than that. That looks pretty darn good. So I wouldn't do any shimming for him. I'm just gonna leave the saddle inlays in and go ahead and put the saddle on with the pad and the girth. Okay, here's Friday all girthed up, and yeah, that looks pretty darn good. So the first time we ride, we'll go ahead and try it like this. There's a very slight possibility that I'll shim back here just because his head is down, he is munching, but it does seem like the back wants to pop up a little, just a little bit. There's a possibility of putting in a shim there, which I did mention he's slightly uphill, so that would make sense as a first step. This is Major, who's trying to target the camera and smiling for you. He is a Tennessee walking horse who's had a lot of issues with soundness in the past. He was taught to stepping pace. There's a lot of videos on him and retraining his gait so you can find on the YouTube channel. After seeing Uno breaking up his diagonals, even Uno, the beautiful mover, breaking up his diagonals, hi, I love you too, thank you, with a less than ideally fitting saddle, I'm wondering if saddle fit has contributed to some of his issues. We've currently been blaming it on his minor lameness. He has a minor lameness in his hind end that we haven't been able to diagnose, but he seems pretty happy doing what we do, so we've continued. But like I said, now I'm wondering if saddle fit might be contributing to some of his issues as well. So we're gonna go ahead and fit him today. There's Major's back, and just like usual, he's gonna keep trying to follow me. We're gonna try the average size first. Easy, handsome. So yeah, this is gonna be a little bit tight on him, it feels like. Oh, handsome. Oh, oh, oh. Good boy. You'll see the bottom is digging into him a little bit. So we're gonna try the next wider pommel, which is the large, the green one. Okay, so here we are about to try the large. And the large looks quite a bit better to me on him. It's maybe a little big, but as you'll see in just a moment, he is going to need some shimming that will help take up this little bit of extra he's got here. Good boy. Here's the saddle on Major. As you can see, it's tilting a little bit forward, so that could be because of the pommel, but I actually think it's because he's, like a lot of the horses here, just have a very, very flat back from all the moving that they do. So we're gonna go ahead and shim the front two pockets. So here he is, all cinched up with the pad. You can see how even the saddle is now. This looks really good to me. So it says front two pockets shimmed. I'm laughing because I'm asking him to stand, and he's technically standing, but he's smiling and doing all sorts of silly things to try to get me to click and reinforce him. Okay, so to me, this saddle looks really good. This is how I would first try it. So again, it shimmed the front two pockets because you saw how the saddle was kind of leaning forward, which could have been because the pommel was slightly too wide. But I think is primarily because, again, most of these horses get so flat backed that saddles tend to fall forward on them because they end up almost a little bit downhill. This is Tiki, and Tiki's had pretty consistent saddle fit and girthing and cinching issues. So hoping that with all these shims and these different pommels, we can find something that's more comfortable for her. So here's Tiki's back. You can see that she has quite a flat back, like a lot of the horses here. Nice Tiki, because they live out 24/7, so they're moving, and they tend to be pretty well developed through their shoulders and their backs. Like I said, there's a couple that are a little newer here that have had significant issues in the past, but that isn't the case. Most of the horses have pretty strong flat backs. And if anything, when you're on her, she can feel a little bit downhill, so that's what we'll be looking at addressing. Now, it doesn't show so much looking at her back, but for whatever reason, when you're on her, she tends to feel downhill. Okay, like usual, starting with the average size here. We'll see what she thinks. It's okay, Tiki Bell. Good girl. And you'll see the inside is digging in just a little bit, this inside corner, whereas the top's up a bit more. So we're gonna try the next wider pommel. Pretty girl. Okay, so now we're gonna try the next wider pommel, which is the green one. And see how that fits her shoulders. And then that is still maybe cutting in just a little bit on her shoulder. So we'll actually try the extra wide one and see which one feels better. I mean, it feels pretty good here. Cutting in a little bit, but not too bad. Okay, so now trying this extra wide one. I haven't even tried this one on anyone yet. Yeah, so this one looks like it might be a possibility. We're gonna try a couple other ones too. That one might work. I'm giving them a second look. This is the green one, so the large. And I'm thinking we're gonna try this one today. In the future, we might try the extra wide one. But this one just seems to fit her the best out of the two. Okay, here's the saddle on her, and you can see it's actually quite balanced. So I'll probably just try riding her in this pommel, and no shim. So we'll put the pad on and put the cinch on, or the girth on, before I make the final decision. But I'm thinking at the moment that we might not need anything. Our head's down, so that might be why this is popping up a little bit. It's actually not popping up too much. I can't put my hand under there anywhere. Yeah, so you might just try it like that. Oh, here she is, all girthed up. Looked pretty good. So this is probably how I'll try it the first time. One of my concerns is that the back part of the saddle is popping up a little bit. So I'm also going to try really quick shimming the front of the saddle, like I thought about possibly doing earlier, just to see if that helps with a little bit of rocking forward that's happening. Here Tiki is with the front shims, and that looks a little bit better to me. It isn't rocking forward quite as far. So it is always possible if your saddle is rocking forward that you have too wide of a pommel on. But I rechecked the pommels, and I'm quite sure that the next size down pommel will hinder her shoulder. So that's why I opted for the front shims instead. And that seems to work a little bit better. The back of the saddle isn't popping up nearly as much. I can't stick my hand in there anymore, especially when her head is up. So that's probably what we'll try first. This is Woody, and he's another older horse that's had a drop back. He came here more recently, so we're still making progress with his back, and hoping that with the shims we'll be able to help him out with that and being more comfortable when we're riding.
So here is Woody's back, and as you can see, he has the most dropped back of the horses here. He's only been here for about 3 or 4 months, so we're still working on it. As you can see, he's just slightly downhill, which is going to get a little bit complicated because he has that dip in his back. Where looking at it, I'm thinking I'm going to want to shim in the middle pockets and the back pocket. But he already feels downhill, so we'll see. It's something I'm going to have to experiment with. I'll probably start with shims in the middle pocket and back pocket, and then eventually also try shims just in the middle pocket.
So here, the next wider one, the green one. And that one is too wide. So it's looking like we're actually gonna have to go narrower and let the saddle sit back just a little bit extra. And like I said, look at shimming, definitely the back too, but possibly all the way down to help his back out. So this is the next one narrower, the blue one. Let's see how that does. That fits a little bit better. Actually, look at this. See how this would be digging into his shoulder a bit, and this is popped up off his shoulder. So we're gonna put the average one back on again. That's the one's looking like it's gonna be our best fit. So here we are, back with the average one. And it's seeming like this one is going to be our best first try. None of them are going to sit very nicely on him because of how dropped his back is. And we're gonna see if we can get him to stand up just a little bit square, because The other horses were able to figure it out, even with them not square. But Woody, because his back is so dropped, it's hard. Yeah, see, this one is looking like it's going to be our best bet to start with. Thank you, Woody.
Here is Woody with the saddle on, and indeed the saddle is rocked just slightly back. So I will try first shims in the middle pockets and in the back pockets. Here's Woody with the saddle on and the saddle pad. The saddle pad has shims in the middle pockets and the back pockets, and all girthed up. And this looks like a pretty good balance, so this is what I'll try first. But like I said, he is slightly downhill, so odds are the shims at the back of the saddle are going to exacerbate that. So he may be a candidate for just shims in the middle pockets, and that's something I will try soon.
Thank you for joining me for this second case study video. I hope you found it helpful. And again, we are lengthening out the series. There will be at least one continuous fitting video, if not more. It depends on how much information and videos and pictures I gather for you. So stay tuned, more to come. I hope you found this helpful. Always feel free to reach out to EDIX Saddles directly to your particular dealer or to myself if you have questions about fitting a saddle to your horse, or if you're interested in EDIX Saddle in general. Take care, and I will see you soon.